Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the Netflix survival thriller Thrash. In this film, we see a coastal town face a Category 5 hurricane whose floods is ravished with sharks. Thrash comes to us from the director of Violent Night, Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, Tommy Wickala. And when you hear the synopsis of this film, it kind of echoes Crawl, which came out a few years ago. That hurricane movie that took place in Florida, and there was an alligator in the house, and the woman was stuck in the house, and what I thought it was going to be something like that. And I enjoyed Crawl. I thought Crawl was one of the better movies of that year that it was released. And so I was all for it. And then when you say sharks, I mean, come on, man. Who doesn't love a good shark movie? Is it the History Channel or Discovery Channel? One of them they dedicate a whole week to sharks. Everybody loves sharks. Going all the way back to Jaws. You know, that Jaws, the sheer fear of sharks has swept across this globe for centuries. It is a killing machine. Everybody knows that a shark is not to be messed with. It is a apex predator. It doesn't play, man. And so it's something intriguing about these animals. Like I said, Jaws, Deep Blue Sea, even though horrible movies like that, you still love them. You still love them because of the sharks. The Shallows, which was a really good movie. You know, just something about shark movies. Love them. So I was on board, full tilt, man. I was all in on Thrash. I couldn't wait to watch this movie. Sit down and just enjoy the carnage that was about to take place in this town because it was ravaged with these sharks. Yeah, silly premise it sounds like on paper, but it kind of makes sense. It really makes a lot of sense when you put it all in its proper perspective. As somebody who has literally lived through tropical storms, hurricanes, stayed home, watched how the winds and the water rushed in and all this other stuff. Yeah, that is frightening. The storm itself is frightening. You add sharks to it. It's even worse. And this isn't Sharknado. It's not cheesy in that sense. It's not cheesy. It's actually done in a believable way where it's like, oh my God, these people are cooked. It is nothing. It is nothing they can do here. The film stars Phoebe Dynevor, Whitney Peak, and German Hinsu, and like no big name stars. You know, Phoebe is from Bridgerton, I think. I think I saw Whitney Peak on a show. I can't even remember what show it was, but nothing big budget. You know, nothing theatrical in the sense like, oh, that's that girl from whatever. But, you know, nothing like that. But the biggest star in this movie is German Hinsu, and he's not a big star, but you know him. He's the only recognizable face of sorts. You know, you got some supporting characters you may pick up from, some character actors there. But aside from that, nothing. The star of this film is the sharks. This movie was awesome. I loved Thrash. For what it was amazing. Excellent. Now, can I sit here and pick apart the logical elements of this film? You know, especially, like I said before, I have extreme knowledge in hurricanes and all that other stuff and how they work and what goes on during a hurricane. I can tell you verbatim that. I can write an essay on that. So I can break that down and tell you what's real and what's not. And there's a lot of that in this movie. But I'm choosing not to do that. Why? Who cares? You going in it, you don't care about that. You really don't. Does the sun shine during a hurricane? No, it does not. There is no sunlight during a hurricane. There is no breaks in wind gusts during a hurricane. It's none of that. There's none of that. There's no way you can walk around, drive around prior to the storm hitting. The storm actually, you actually start feeling the effects of a hurricane or not thunderstorm, tropical storm the day before. You start feeling it before it officially makes landfall. And so, yeah, the logic of all that, not accurate. I don't care. That's not what I signed up for. That's not what I sat down to watch in this film. You signed up to watch the sharks go ham on these town folk, and that's what they do. And so I'm not going to break all that down. I'm just going to break down how exciting of a film this was. This film never lets up. It is gas on the pedal from the moment this storm makes landfall, which is very, very early in the movie. You know, we are introduced to our characters, our leads, and who's important, sets up who is what to who. And from that moment, once you nail that down, we're off to the races. You know, the sharks invade. Why they invade, that was explained fairly well. And, you know, why they're swimming around this town makes sense in the structure of this story. I was all in on that, man. I didn't feel like, man, there's no way these bull sharks can do that. Man, miss me with all that. Miss me with all that. The kills in here, the brutality of these sharks were not skipped upon. There were a couple kills that I was like, I don't think that's how they go. But at the same time, I never witnessed, and nor do I want to witness, a bull shark tear somebody apart. But it just didn't look right. You know, one individual who manages to get away late in the movie from a bull shark attack, I didn't buy it. I didn't buy that part. But they had to give certain characters a hero moment, and that's why that happened the way it happened. And that's the one element that I didn't like about the movie, you know, outside of the logic stuff, but everything else worked. You can't cut a tree limb with a knife. I do know that, once again, from experience. But I cut trees for many, many years, well over 20 years. You can't cut a tree with a kitchen knife. But it was done in this movie. That was the other thing. Now I'm talking logic. It was that one character that quote unquote survived a bull shark attack, and then it was the part with the rescue with a tree limb blocking somebody, and it was cut off of them with a kitchen knife. That was the two parts where I kind of shook my head like, like, well, that's dumb. They could have did another thing other than a kitchen knife to cut a tree limb. But like I said, I didn't care. I don't care. In the grand scheme of it all, I don't care. I think this was an exciting, adrenaline-filled movie. It did precisely what it set out to do, and that was make the audience think, what would I do in this situation? That was the goal, and that's what it did for me. What would I do in this situation with these sharks running the streets, just swimming around, waiting for you to dip your toe in the water? What are you going to do? The biggest element about this that really stuck out to me, aside from the sharks and all of that, was the cinematography, was the look of this film. This looked amazing. This looked, I'm telling you, like a theatrical $100 million movie. It was beautifully shot. The set designs and the way they flooded this town, it looked like it was hit by a Category 5 hurricane. It it really did. I was so impressed by the look of it and how realistically depicted this town looked after being hit by this storm. I was super impressed by that. So overall, I really enjoyed Thrash. I thought it was precisely what it was advertised as, a survival thriller horror shark film. And that's what we got. Thrash, which is currently on Netflix, gets a letter grade of a B plus. Yeah, I enjoyed it. This is a repeat watch. This is one of those movies that you sit down and watch it the first time. Second time, you probably throw it on in the background while you're cleaning up or whatever the case may be. But you can always throw this on and have a good time with it. I would like to know, what did you think of Thrash? Did email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Concession Stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Thrash. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.